What kind of person sells a soldier's home while he's risking his life overseas? That question burned in my chest as I stood on the cracked asphalt of my old driveway, staring at the house I'd poured my soul into. The windows gleamed, but they weren't mine anymore. The for sale sign was gone, replaced by a gaudy mailbox with Karen and Tom in curling script. I'd been deployed for 18 months, dodging bullets in a desert half a world away. And this was my welcome home, a stranger living in my house, on my land. Because HOA Karen, the HOA president, decided my sacrifice wasn't worth her paperwork. My name's Ethan Carter, Staff Sergeant, U.S. Army. And this was my fight now not against insurgents, but against a woman who'd stolen my future. The story started 2 years ago when I bought this house in Willow Creek, a tidy subdivision with picket fences and nosy neighbors. It was my first real home, a place to plant roots after a decade of moving bases. I'd saved every penny, fixed the leaky roof, and built a deck out back where I dreamed of barbecues with friends. But then orders came, a deployment to a conflict zone. I left everything in order, paid my HOA dues in advance, and trusted the system to protect what was mine. HOA Karen, with her clipboard and pinched smile, assured me she'd keep an eye on things. I believed her. That was my first mistake. While I was gone, dodging IEDs and writing letters to my sister, Karen was busy. She claimed I'd missed HOA payment slides, since my bank records showed every transfer. She declared my property abandoned, citing some obscure bylaw, and pushed the board to foreclose. My house was sold at auction for pennies, and Karen's cousin snapped it up. By the time I got word, 6 months into my tour, it was done. My sister, Lily, tried to fight it, but Karen's influence ran deep. The HOA board was her kingdom, and she wielded her power like a tyrant. I was helpless, thousands of miles away, my life unraveling in emails and frantic phone calls. When I stepped off the plane last week, I didn't go to a hotel or my sister's couch. I drove straight to Willow Creek, my duffel bag still slung over my shoulder. The neighborhood looked the same: manicured lawns, kids on bikes, but it felt like enemy territory. I knocked on my old door, and there was Karen, round and defiant, her eyes narrowing like I was the intruder. "You don't belong here," she snapped, her voice dripping with contempt. "This is my house now." I clenched my fists, the weight of betrayal heavier than any rucksack. I could have walked away, but I'd fought too hard, lost too much. This wasn't just about a house, it was about justice. I started digging. Lily and I combed through HOA records, bank statements, and emails. Karen's scheme was sloppy but deliberate. She'd forged documents, misreported payments, and bullied the board into compliance. Her cousin, now living in my house, was just one piece of her empire. She'd done this before, targeting single owners, retirees, anyone who couldn't fight back. The HOA's bank account was suspiciously flush, and Karen's new SUV didn't match her accountant husband's salary. We found a paper trail, but it wasn't enough. I needed allies, and I knew exactly where to find them. My unit-me brothers and sisters from the 82nd Airborne were more than soldiers. They were family. When I told them what happened, they didn't hesitate. Captain Ruiz, a lawyer before he enlisted, started pulling strings. Private Malone, who'd grown up hacking computers, dug into Karen's digital footprint. We found her emails to the auction house, gloating about easy money. By the time we were done, we had enough to bury her. But I didn't want to just weenie, wanted her to feel the weight of what she'd done. The twist came when Malone uncovered something bigger. Karen wasn't just scamming homeowners. She was laundering money through the HOA, funneling cash to a shady developer tied to her cousin. The entire subdivision was built on shaky permits, with half the lots technically owned by a defunct company. My house wasn't the only one she'd stolen. It was part of a larger fraud. This wasn't just my fight anymore. It was every neighbor's. I could have gone to the cops, but I wanted Karen to face the community she'd betrayed. The HOA meeting was set for Saturday, and I made sure every resident got a flyer with the truth. HOA Karen sold our homes. The community center was packed, the air thick with tension. Karen stood at the podium, her usual smirk faltering as I walked in, flanked by Ruiz and Malone. I held up the forged documents, my voice steady but burning. "You sold my home while I was serving our country," I said, locking eyes with her. "You stole from all of us." The room erupted, neighbors shouting, demanding answers. Karen stammered, her excuses crumbling. Then Malone dropped the bomb, the developer's name, linked to her cousin, tied to millions in fraud. The crowd turned on her, their anger a living thing. Karen tried to run, but Ruiz blocked the door, calm but unyielding. "You're not going anywhere," he said. The neighbors, once her pawns, were now her jury. An elderly woman, Mrs. Jenkins, stood up, trembling. "You foreclosed on my son's house too," she said, tears in her eyes. "He's gone, and you took everything." The room went silent, the weight of her words crushing. Karen's empire was unraveling, and she knew it. That night, the subdivision felt like a battlefield after the smoke clears. Karen's reign was over, but the damage was done. My house was still gone, and so were others. The developer's scam had left half the neighborhood's titles in limbo. But my unit wasn't done. Ruiz called in favors from his old law firm, and Malone's digital sleuthing led to a federal investigation. By Monday, the FBI was at Karen's door, and her cousin was in cuffs. The developer's company collapsed under scrutiny, and every shady deal Karen had brokered came to light. The HOA was dissolved, its funds frozen. Karen's SUV was towed, her name a curse in every driveway. But the real victory wasn't her downfall, it was what came next. My unit didn't just stop at exposing her. They worked with the feds to seize the entire subdivision, not to destroy it, but to save it. The lots were redistributed to their rightful owners, including me. It wasn't simple months of legal battles, paperwork, and late-night calls, but we fought as a unit. My house was mine again, and Mrs. Jenkins got her sons back. The neighborhood, once divided by Karen's greed, started to heal. We tore down the HOA's rulebook and built something new, a community council, run by residents, for residents. Standing on my deck now, the wood worn but sturdy, I think about what this house means. It's not just brick and mortar, it's the life I fought for, the home I almost lost. Karen thought she could break me, but she didn't know my unit. They didn't just fight for me. They fought for everyone she'd hurt. I see Mrs. Jenkins tending her garden, waving as kids ride by on bikes. The neighborhood's alive again. Not perfect, but ours. I learned something out there in the desert, and again here in Willow Creek. You don't win by fighting alone. You win by standing with people who believe in something bigger than themselves. Karen's greed tore us apart, but our fight brought us together. My unit didn't just repossess a subdivision, it gave us back our homes, our pride, our hope. And that's worth more than any house.